In a world captivated by social media and instant fame, Hugh Grosvenor, the 7th Duke of Westminster, stands apart. Rather than flaunting his wealth on platforms like Instagram or TikTok, this 32-year-old aristocrat manages his billions with discretion and a commitment to philanthropy. With a fortune that rivals royalty, Hugh embodies the understated elegance of old money, proving that restraint and responsibility can indeed be revolutionary in today's digital age. But what shaped this young billionaire's unique perspective on wealth and responsibility? Hugh Grosvenor, born on January 29, 1991, into the distinguished Grosvenor family, was destined for a life that was anything but ordinary. The Grosvenors, a name inextricably linked to Britain's history for over a millennium, are not merely another aristocratic lineage. Their influence is profoundly ingrained in the fabric of British society, alongside families such as the Howards and the Percys, who are renowned for their substantial financial and historical influence. They are a cornerstone of the nation. Hugh was immersed by a legacy of significant economic and societal influence from the moment of his birth, thanks to his parents Gerald Grosvenor, the 6th Duke of Westminster, and his wife Natalia. His inheritance was not merely a fortune, but also a responsibility to uphold centuries-old traditions and obligations, given the estimated value of the Grosvenor Estate at £9 billion. Hugh assumed the title of the 7th Duke of Westminster in 2016, at the age of 25, assuming a position that combined the responsibility of overseeing an empire that had been established over the course of generations with immense fortune. However, those who are adapted to the charmed paths typically associated with the aristocracy may be taken aback by Hugh's educational trajectory. He was initially educated at a local state primary school. Subsequently, he attended Ellesmere College in Shropshire, a public school less renowned than Eton or Harrow's prestigious colleges. Yet it was significant for his formative years. While there, he not only excelled academically, but also on the cricket field, relishing the aristocratic sport that is steeped in British tradition and nobility. Hugh rejected the conventional routes that would have led him to Oxford or Cambridge when it was time to attend university. Instead, he opted to attend Newcastle University, where he earned a degree in agriculture in 2013. This decision indicated his pragmatic approach to his future responsibilities, as agriculture is, after all, the primary income of the Grosvenor Estate. After graduation, the Wheatsheaf Group, a subsidiary of the Grosvenor family's agricultural and food investment business interests, was his next strategic move. This position was not merely a stopgap, but a deliberate phase of professional development that provided him with a solid foundation in the practical aspects of estate management. Gerald Grosvenor, the 6th Duke of Westminster, passed away unexpectedly at the age of 64 in August 2016. The Grosvenor family was confronted with a poignant juncture. This event was a significant transition, as it not only signified the ceremonial passing of the guard, but also the moment Hugh Grosvenor assumed the title of the 7th Duke of Westminster. This title was accompanied by the responsibility of overseeing an empire, the Grosvenor Estate, which is valued at an astonishing £9 billion. This was no ordinary fortune. It consisted of an enormous property portfolio that encompassed significant portions of Mayfair and Belgravia, two of London's most prestigious neighbourhoods. The Grosvenor Estate is divided into 3 formidable portfolios: the Grosvenor Group, the Family Office, and the Wheatsheaf Group. The Grosvenor Group alone manages assets valued at an extraordinary £11.8 billion. The Grosvenors have successfully navigated these financial straits despite the UK's stringent inheritance tax laws, which often severely penalise the transitions of wealth. Their assets were largely protected from the grasp of Britain's inheritance tax system through the prudent utilisation of trusts. Hugh Grosvenor, despite his immense fortune, does not personally own these assets. Rather, he benefits from an estate trust that grants him access to the generated income without granting him direct ownership rights. In 2017, the public was drawn to this ingenious financial arrangement, which was met with scrutiny and criticism for what some perceived as a mastery of tax avoidance. Some perceived the trusts as a loophole for the ultra-rich, rendering inheritance tax virtually optional, despite the fact that they were resident in the UK and subject to British taxes. which included a 6% charge on many of their assets every decade. This critique was bluntly expressed by John Christensen, the director of the Tax Justice Network. However, the family defended their approach, asserting that the primary objective of these trusts was to guarantee the continuity of ownership across generations, a tradition that was profoundly ingrained in their familial ethos, rather than to evade taxes. Questions regarding how Hugh Grosvenor would manage the intricacies of his inheritance persisted as the 2010s concluded, with the Grosvenor Group's leadership now entirely under his control. Stepping into his father's shoes entailed more than merely fulfilling a role. It placed him in a position where every decision would be magnified and every action would be evaluated. There was much curiosity and speculation about how Hugh Grosvenor would manage this legacy and its associated responsibilities. Hugh Grosvenor is the owner and chief of the trustees of the Grosvenor Group, a company that combines modernity and tradition. Not only does this position establish him as a dynamic magnet at the forefront of a colossal international real estate development and investment enterprise, but it also positions him as a guardian of familial wealth. The notion of a nobleman who merely supervises vast swaths of the English countryside is profoundly antiquated when contemplating Grosvenor's domain. His global influence extends from the prestigious districts of Mayfair and Belgravia to innovative projects on Anasis Island in Vancouver, Canada, and opulent residential developments in Tokyo, Japan. The Grosvenor Estate has a portfolio that is truly international, encompassing prime real estate in many important global cities, including Hong Kong, San Francisco, and various European capitals. In addition to its iconic properties, the Grosvenor Empire has expanded into innovative industries. Gusto, a meal package delivery service, and Vitro Life, a company that specializes in livestock reproductive technologies, have both received substantial investments from Grosvenor Food and AgTech. Hugh Grosvenor's vision of a legacy that evolves in order to remain pertinent in a world that is rapidly changing is exemplified by this diversification. Sustainability is a principal focus for the Grosvenor Group, reflected in its investments in agritech startups and sustainable food ventures like the Jackfruit Company, which offers meat alternatives made from jackfruit, and PerFresh. This firm provides atmosphere systems for the transportation of fresh produce. These initiatives are not merely financial maneuvers, they are strategic investments in the future of food production. Duke's venture capital initiatives also represent a significant transition from conventional real estate to the adoption of high-tech solutions. The group has invested £2.1 million in Commonplace, a digital engagement platform for community planning, and participated in a series, a funding round for Qualis Flow, a construction tech firm that specializes in environmental risk management. Hugh Grosvenor's leadership style is characterized by a delicate equilibrium between the adoption of innovative approaches and the recognition of the past. He stands as an example of how empires have to change throughout time in order to meet the demands of a modern period, no matter how deeply ingrained their legacy may be. His innovative approach guarantees that the Grosvenor legacy is not only preserved, but also prepared for future opportunities and challenges. Hugh demonstrates a marked departure from the trend of documenting the lives of the privileged with the intensity of a daily serial. The Duke's life transpires without any public spectacle in the midst of the pervasive tide of social media, where every moment is captured, filtered, and shared. This deliberate decision is in striking contrast to his contemporaries in the aristocratic and royal circles, such as Lady Kitty Spencer, who is a fixture at the glitz of high society galas and fashion shows, and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, whose lives are an open book. In contrast to his peers, Hugh Grosvenor pursues a less traveled path, prioritizing fulfilling his responsibilities outside of the public view, rather than cultivating a social media persona. His reticence is not a result of mere privilege. Rather, it is a strategic decision that reflects a profound respect for privacy and a dedication to his obligations. His leadership is characterized by the quiet diligence with which he administers both his familial legacy and philanthropic endeavors, rather than by headlines, as the chair of the trustees for both the Grosvenor Group and the Westminster Foundation. However, the Duke's decision to conceal his life from the public scrutiny does not protect him from the broader societal narratives that address themes of inequality, privilege, and wealth. The Grosvenor family's substantial property holdings and enormous fortune have brought them to the forefront of discussions regarding economic disparities in the United Kingdom. The Paradise Papers, which disclosed the financial strategies employed by the world's most affluent to navigate and capitalize on the global financial system, exacerbated this scrutiny. Although these revelations were legal, they reignited the debate regarding wealth inequality and the moral responsibilities of the ultra-wealthy. They provided a detailed account of the Grosvenor family's utilization of offshore entities for tax optimization. Hugh Grosvenor is frequently perceived as more lenient than other individuals of comparable fortune, despite the existence of these controversies. This favorable perception is particularly compelling in a society that is becoming more critical of unbridled privilege. What about Hugh Grosvenor, who captivates a public that is typically distrustful of the aristocracy? Is it his unassuming lifestyle, philanthropic endeavors, or perhaps how he manages the significant responsibilities accompanying his inheritance? Hugh Grosvenor is not only one of the 15 wealthiest individuals in the United Kingdom, but also a trusted associate of the royal family, accompanying a position at the intersection of prestige and authority. However, this duke is not your typical aristocrat. His significance in the contemporary era is undeniable, as he is a progressive, tech-savvy millennial and acutely aware of his generational context. Grosvenor's progressive approach to youthful visibility can transform the aristocracy from a perceived relic of the past into a dynamic, influential entity in an era dominated by millennials and Generation Z, where public attention can be captivated with a mere tweet. This young duke's influence is not limited to mere visibility. It extends to the social and policy spheres, where he has the potential to influence opinions and policies for decades, serving as a critical link between the centuries-old establishment and a modern attention-driven generation. Grosvenor does not simply waste his fortune on opulence and indulgence. He is the chair of the Westminster Foundation's trustees, where he assists organizations that prioritize vulnerable children. This position is not merely a ceremonial title. It demonstrates an aristocrat who is profoundly rooted in the values of the 21st century. Proactive, conscientious, and engaged. This is the point at which the narrative becomes particularly captivating. Grosvenor's contemporary approach is not merely improving his family's financial situation, but also redefining the British aristocracy. The aristocratic classes have been disparaged for years as stale, detached, and losing influence. However, Grosvenor employs contemporary strategies to challenge that narrative. He portrays the aristocrats as dynamic entrepreneurs, adapting to a swiftly changing world, rather than cobwebbed relics. This is not merely a narrative about a man restoring estates. It is about an individual reimagining the very image of British nobility. So, Hugh Grosvenor, the 7th Duke of Westminster, is more than merely an affluent nobleman. He serves as a symbol of the potential of the aristocracy, at a time when there is a strong desire for change. Hugh Grosvenor has made a substantial lifestyle decision that significantly deviates from the typical urban residence of a billionaire. He has chosen to abandon the bustling metropolis of London in favor of the pastoral attractions of Chester in a pursuit of a more tranquil and grounded existence. This choice emphasizes his preference for a less conventional life, as he has chosen to forego the more extravagant aspects of prosperity in favor of a more subdued and meaningful existence in the rural area where he was raised. The Duke's relocation to Chester is not merely a change of scenery, but a deliberate decision to further integrate himself into the rural and communal life. Chester is not simply a backdrop. It is a community with which he has enduring familial and personal ties. London's relentless dynamism starkly contrasts the historic city, which boasts a rich heritage and a slower tempo of life. By relocating, Hugh is adopting a lifestyle that prioritizes personal fulfillment over public spectacle, consistent with his overarching community engagement and conservation principles. Also, his choice to relocate was influenced by his forthcoming marriage to Olivia Henson, suggesting a shared desire to commence their marital life in a location that embodies a profound connection to nature and stability. This action signifies a significant turning point in their lives, underscoring their dedication to creating a future that honors their heritage and promotes a private, enriching existence, not dominated by the public eye. Eaton Hall, the family estate that will serve as their residence, is surrounded by a vast expanse of woodlands, parklands, and gardens, indicative of a lifestyle profoundly bound to the natural environment. This location is more than simply a place to live. It's a declaration of the Duke's commitment to upholding the beauty and history of his family's historic properties, which have been preserved and modified over the ages to meet modern requirements without losing their original historical significance. Hugh Grosvenor demonstrates a dedication to environmental and community stewardship through his personal choices and actions, which were notably evident during his wedding and in his ongoing public engagements. Grosvenor deliberately decided to integrate sustainable practices that reflect his profound dedication to environmental conservation and local community support when planning his marriage with Olivia Henson. The event celebrated and supported local farmers and producers by featuring locally sourced food, minimizing the environmental impact of long-distance food transportation. This decision not only bolstered the local economy, but also demonstrated his commitment to sustainable practices. Furthermore, the wedding's decorations were sourced from local artisans, including florists who provided locally grown flowers, underscoring his commitment to community-based procurement and the reduced carbon footprint of his event. Hugh's dedication to community engagement is not limited to his personal events. He actively participates in charitable endeavors, particularly as the president of the County Trust. This organization is dedicated to offering children from underprivileged backgrounds the opportunity to experience the countryside, farming, and ecology. This position enables Grosvenor to influence the lives of young people by cultivating an appreciation for rural living and the environment, which is consistent with his commitment to education and conservation. Grosvenor's reputation for keeping a low profile, despite his substantial wealth and the prominence of his title, is a credit to his disposition towards life and his sense of self. He avoids promoting his personal life or fortune in the public sphere. This practice deviates from the celebrity-style visibility prevalent among many of his peers. This decision highlights his preference for meaningful contributions over simple stardom, as he seeks to use his efforts to actually bring about positive improvements and advantages, rather than just gain personal fame. Through these actions, Hugh Grosvenor not only maintains the traditional responsibilities that are associated with his status, but also redefines them by combining contemporary values of sustainability and community engagement with the aristocratic duties of philanthropy and stewardship. He is a progressive figure within the British aristocracy, and his approach represents a thoughtful and impactful way of bridging historical privilege with contemporary societal requirements. Do you endorse the image that the Duke of Westminster has projected in recent years, or do you see it as a calculated strategy to maintain the ultra-rich's appearance of integrity? This discussion pertains to the broader trajectory of an entire class within British society, not just a personal brand. Now, we invite you to share your thoughts. Please leave your opinions in the comments below. Also, let us know if other figures or topics within the British aristocracy capture your interest. Would you be more interested in a detailed exploration of the philanthropic efforts of the ultra-rich, or insights into how they manage public expectations alongside their private lives? Your feedback is invaluable and will help shape our future content to align with your interests and curiosities.